Picking the top rogue is always kind of hard because after every event there's always like a new rogue deck. So we're going to split rogue into two videos. This is going to be my top 5 rogue decks that I think are probably your best options for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we'll talk about in the next video, well, the next 5 actually. So make sure you guys smash everything crap out. Smash it! I command it! And let's dig on into this, shall we? Now, number 1 on our list here is actually going to be Sky Striker. Now, Bill Way's had an interesting theory for the last couple of extravaganzas that going second striker is the best approach for this deck. You can play things like evenly matched if you want to. I've seen all kinds of different builds from him, but looking at striker, you have obviously like the infinite toolbox armada of cards. Yeah, engage is gone, but at the end of the day, you look at this deck and you're like, well, Widow Anchors, Shark Cannons, Jamming Waves, and Afterburners are all cards that, unless there's a Dragoon involved, what your opponent's going to have to like waste a negate on. Like if your opponent starts sitting up Borreload Savages and you're firing like these 1-for-1s at your opponent, you're like, oh, Afterburners, target, Mr. Borreload Savage, and they're like, I gotta negate that, because they cannot let these recurable effects, basic 1-for-1s resolve. And then, once the negates have been used for the turn, that's when you'll see the recursion start to take place. It's where you'll see the Kagaris recurring back, the Widow Anchors, the Afterburners to blow the opponent up. It's definitely the coolest thing about this deck is Widow Anchor is a heck of a card, alright? And I know I'm putting it very high on the rogue list here, but if you can push the game state into a window where you're like, alright, let's do this, and then you're like, alright, Widow Anchor, you will effectively get 6, 7, 8, 9 Widow Anchors a game, which is technically 9 interruptions to your opponent. Yeah, that's like resolving multiple multi-rolls to reset multiple Kagaris. Maybe 10 if you can push that far, with like triple Kagari recycling 1 if you're playing that route. But yeah, it's literally just Widow Anchor, bait the negates, dot deck. Next up on the list here is Unchained. Now, Unchained kind of suffers the same problem that the rest of the meta did. It was like 1 or 2 good interruptions, and you kind of had issues. But out of the last extravaganza, Matthew had a theory about playing Dimension Shifter in this deck. And I think a lot of people kind of turned their head and went, D-Shifter and Unchained. So that gives us all the Unchained cards resolve when they're banished anyway. So D-Shifter doesn't really hurt the deck. The only point it really hurts it is if, you start kind of getting into that grind game and you're like, oh, I need to revive something. And you're like, well, crap, I can't do that. So, because it's banished. So, like, having the door opened so that we could see D-Shifter be a new combo piece and kind of see that this deck is innovating, it's really good. Like, against other Rogue, Unchained is one of the most annoying decks in the entire universe, alright? All of their floating. It reminds me of old school Yangzing. I hated old school Yangzing because, like, you have to attack through, like 6, 7 monsters in a turn. And then on the next, then it's like, alright, cool, well, we've done all their effects for this turn. And then, like, hey, want to see a magic trick? And they're like, hey, I can do this all again next turn. It was one of the most unfun experiences I've ever had with the game. And Unchained definitely throws me back to that earlier time with those grindier games. So, I'm not a super huge fan of Unchained. I understand why the deck is competently good and why it is one of the best rogue picks out there for a duelist to pick up and go, hey, I want to play some freaking Unchained. And you know what? You will have success with it. Also, the fact that the deck capitalizes off of the opponent's monsters for their own link summoning. Like, not only are you the best floater deck in the entire game in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Next to Praying Kids, but, like, you literally just, you're like, hey, I'm going to use my opponent's cards to link Shogun. Alright? It's absolutely scary. Next up on our list here is Tri-Brigade. Now you're like, well, Robbie, Tri-Brigade is not having any success this format. You're actually quite stupid to put it on the rogue list. So here's the thing about Tri-Brigade. If you can't out some Morgue Barrier statue, you're going to have a bad time. Like, literally, the the whole baseline for the Tri-Brigade engine and Rogue is, can you add a Simorgh Barrier Statue? Now, whatever else this deck can do in the Rogue category, you have Gladiator Beast, you have Fire Fist variants, alright, like, you have Ancient Warrior variants that are running around right now in Rogue with the Tri-Brigade package. Think about that, alright? This isn't just baseline Tri-Brigade, it's, you pick Tri-Brigade with your spice, alright? And well, unfortunately, Barrier Statue, Simorgh is that baseline. Whatever else the other engine can do for the deck kind of depends on what you can really expect. If the other engine can better help protect Simorgh Barrier Statue, you'll be in a better place. Also, honestly, the Tri-Brigade engine's got a really freaking good grind game. But the problem is, inherently, there's no like crazy go second break a board with this deck at the moment. It's kind of what the deck suffers from. It's definitely a going first deck in the long run. But once you see the board broke, the dam's coming through, and my opponent broke my board. All right, well, I lose now. So, like I said, that's literally what it's like to play Tri-Brigade right now. So, I think the deck is definitely very, very competent to be in the Rogue category because of what the deck simply does. Simorgh Barrier Statue, plus whatever else you can end on. Not the best thing in the world, but it's something nonetheless. Next up here is Buster Blader. Now, temporarily, Buster Blader isn't that good. We initially saw when Dragon Link was a crazier deck, we saw that this deck had a lot more success. Now, post Ghost from the Past, I definitely think that we'll see Glue Blader come back in a much higher number. If you're playing in an area where Dragon Link is a relatively popular deck, then probably playing the Glue Blader counter for that is not a bad idea. Now, the thing with Glue Blader is it's most successful against Buster Blader, obviously. Like, you get the best benefit off of your opponent's stuff. Buster Dragon plus the Buster Blader fusion monster. Want to see all those dragon monsters. Alright, like, you get the better synergy out of things when it's a natural-based deck. Alright, I get it. I have to put it on the Rogue list, though, because it is meant to counteract one of the big five. Alright, and the fact that, like I said, post Ghost from the Past, when you see Dragon Link get this, super steroid boost, you will probably end up seeing this deck come back. So, as of making this video, Buster Blader is not a crazy impactful deck on today's metagame. It's definitely, hey, my locals is full of 8 Dragon Link players. You can bet your butt I'm literally going to bring this. I've seen Glue Blader work, and it's absolutely hilarious when you just watch this deck randomly start breaking through a Dragon Link player's board, and they're just like, that's not fair. Buster Blader is not competitive. And you're just like, yo, bro, chill. I just wanted to play Buster Blader so I can make you suffer. Alright, I think that's what every Buster Blader player says in the world. It's like, they're basically Dragon Link. But, to be fair, it's definitely hilarious watching it happen. Next up, and the last up for this video here, is going to be everybody's tasty little treats, Madolche. The only reason why I have to put Madolche on this list is nobody is prepared for this when it comes. Madolche will ruin your frickin' day. Oh, also, by the way, Tiramisu doesn't target. So, they're like, hey, Tiramisu F. You're like, also, this deck builds some of the most ridiculous going first board I've ever seen. Like, Glassful's like unaffected from half of the stuff. They get like interruptions to the opponent's graveyard. They have the bounce ability off of other stuff. They have the field spell running to get recursion back to their hand. And they just throw a bunch of worthless candy treats in your way, and you're like, break my board. And then, like, if they go second, some builds are playing the Kaiju package, so they just hand you a Kaiju, and they're like, hey, want to see what I do going first, but have it be effective now? And then they'll start making Tiramisus, they'll start spamming out these large monsters, and all of a sudden, you blink, your opponent's got 8k damage on the field, and you're like, I don't know what just happened, but it's time to lose. This deck's got so many extenders out its butt, it's not even funny. Also, normal summon Mageline is basically game if it resolves. Alright, like, depending on the rest of the hand, like, as soon as they get Salon, and they start the additional normal summon, and they're like, hey, Time to lose. Like, also, their cards are from the era of not once per turns. So, like, what is it? Messenger Lotto's not once per turn. So, like, search, search, search. And you're just like, yeah, this is great. But, like, this deck is excellent at doing what it does. Like, it's definitely the queen. Yeah, yeah, pun intended. At breaking boards. It's definitely interesting. So what do you guys think about this list of rogue? Smash the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more excellent content. And I'll see your bit of faces back here later on in the day for some more cool, awesome content. Peace out, guys. Thank you, patrons, for making the ride never truly end. Without you guys' support, well, I would probably be doing Truffle Shuffle videos for a living. Guys, please check out VanCool40 for all of your Cardfight Vanguard content brought to you by MCool40. And if you are looking to pick up singles, check out mcoolgames.com for your trading card game needs. Thanks for watching, everybody.